Former special counsel Jack Smith is reportedly ready to go on a counterattack as the Trump administration continues to target Smith and the FBI agents who worked on his team. The New York Times is reporting that Smith has, quote, told people in his orbit that he welcomes the opportunity to present the public case against Mr. Trump, denied to him by the Supreme Court decision asserting broad presidential immunity from prosecution and adverse rulings from a Trump-appointed judge on the federal bench in Florida. The paper continues that in two recent interviews, Smith has made it unmistakably clear that he will not only defend himself, but take a hammer to Mr. Trump's exaggerated or false claims about his work as special counsel.
Great news. Jack Smith is back in the conversation, and that alone is enough to make Donald Trump nervous. Trump thought this chapter was finished. He thought Jack Smith had been pushed out of the way. He thought the legal storm had passed. But here is the problem. Jack Smith was not erased. The evidence was not erased. The records were not erased. The timeline, the witnesses, the documents, and the questions are still there. And that is why this matters.
I think if you do that, it's tantamount to saying you can never prosecute powerful high officials, because they'll always there could always be a concern that they'll stay in power and then come after people. The problem is not prosecuting high officials who did something wrong when you do it according to the processes of law in your country. It's the retaliation. That's the problem. And that's the thing that we should be preventing.
Jack Smith is not a showman. He is not a cable news performer. He is not the kind of person who talks just to create noise. He is a straight-line prosecutor. He follows the facts. He follows the evidence. And if that evidence points toward Trump, he does not care how loud Trump gets, how many excuses he makes, or how many people he sends out to defend him. That is what scares Trump, because when Trump hears the name Jack Smith, he does not just hear politics. He hears legal exposure, documents, testimony. He hears a record that he cannot simply insult away. Trump can attack judges, prosecutors, Democrats, reporters, and anyone else who gets in his way, but he cannot make evidence disappear just by yelling.
Now's Ken Delaney, and following this for us, Sam Stein, managing editor of The Bulwark and an MS Now contributor, and Chris O'Leary is a former senior FBI official, senior VP for global operations at the Sufan Group, and now an MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. So Ken, tell us more about Smith, who, like Obama, expressed serious concern about this erosion of independence at DOJ.
Yes, and it's worth remembering, Chris, that Jack Smith is a nonpartisan career prosecutor. He's been branded as a partisan by Donald Trump and his allies, but that's not really his background. And he's using some very strong language here, saying the Justice Department has been corrupted. But I have to tell you, Chris, that's no different from the conversations I have almost every day with current and former Justice Department and FBI officials. This is a universal view and really transcends partisanship. And the thing that's notable here is that you're hearing Jack Smith say it and you're hearing Barack Obama say it, but there are a lot of other people who you're not hearing from, including Merrick Garland, the former Attorney General, Chris Wray, the former FBI Director, Lisa Monaco, for example, the Deputy Attorney General, who I'm sure hold the same views about what's going on, but they are in private law practice or they are with private companies and they're not willing to stick their neck out and say what they think is happening. And there's a lot of lower level people that most people have never heard of who aren't saying anything either. It's hard for us to even get folks to go on the record and be quoted in stories that we write every day about crazy things that are happening at the DOJ. So that to me is what's notable about this. Jack Smith is out there because he's doing essentially public interest law. He's not at a big law firm and he doesn't have government contracts.
Right now, Trump has several major problems. The Epstein issue is one, corruption is another, the deportation agenda is another. But Jack Smith represents something even bigger. Accountability that never completely went away. He represents the files Trump thought were buried, the questions Trump thought were delayed, and the legal pressure Trump thought he had escaped. That is why this is good news for people who believe in the rule of law. But let me be very clear. Do not hear this and get comfortable. And do not assume Trump is finished. And do not assume the courts, prosecutors, or anyone else will save the country while voters stay home. If people want Trump gone, they have to show up. They have to vote. They have to pay attention. They have to stop acting like victory is automatic.
We have a department that fails to investigate cases because they might uncover facts that are inconvenient for narratives the president would like to press.
Even though, as Ken just pointed out, there are a lot of people who, for their own reasons, are not speaking out publicly, are you hearing that kind of thing behind the scenes as you talk to people privately?
Yes. So I hear, from current and former agents in the FBI and former prosecutors from the Department of Justice, this exact thing that both Jack Smith and President Obama are highlighting. The issue is the acting attorney general right now is the personal lawyer of the president, and he's still conducting himself that way. He's not working for the people. He's not the people's lawyer. He's not working on behalf of the Republic. He's working on behalf of the president and their agenda. And then equally, we have Kash Patel, the completely unqualified director of the FBI, who's carrying out this campaign as well. So what's happening is we're going against political adversaries or perceived political adversaries of the president and of, his network. And we're not going against the real criminals that are threatening our republic. And the issue is, at the end of the day, the country is less safe because we have unqualified sycophants running the Department of Justice and the FBI, and we're not actually being protected.
Trump will not accept defeat quietly. He will attack the process. He will claim fraud. He will pressure his allies. He will try to turn confusion into chaos. But this time, more people are watching. The courts are watching. The voters are watching. The country is watching. And that is why he is not invincible. We have already seen lower courts pushback. We have seen appeals courts pushback. We have seen moments where the Supreme Court did not give Trump everything he wanted. That matters. It shows that the system may be under pressure, but it has not completely collapsed.
Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss my work as special counsel. I love my country and believe deeply in the core principles upon which it was founded. For nearly 3 decades, I've served as a career prosecutor in both Republican and Democratic administrations. I've handled cases ranging from domestic assault and gang violence to public corruption and election crimes across the United States, and I've prosecuted war crimes overseas. I am not a politician, and I have no partisan loyalties. My career has been dedicated to serving our country by upholding the rule of law. Throughout my public service, my approach has always been the same. Follow the facts and the law without fear or favor. Experienced prosecutors know that specific case outcomes are beyond our control. Our responsibility is to do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons. These principles have guided me through my career, including as special counsel. I'm proud of the work my team did, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear here today to correct false and misleading narratives about our work. During my tenure as special counsel, we followed Justice Department policies, we observed legal requirements, and took actions based on the facts and the law. I made my decisions without regard to President Trump's political association, activities, beliefs, or candidacy in the 2024 election. President Trump was charged because the evidence established that he willfully broke the law, the very laws he took an oath to uphold.
Still, this fight does not end with Trump. People need to understand that Trump is the face of the movement, but he is not the entire machine. J.D. Vance may sound different, he may represent himself differently, but the agenda behind him is still dangerous. Project 47, the Heritage Foundation, and the people trying to reshape federal power are not going away just because Trump leaves the stage. That is why Jack Smith matters so much. Someone like him does not care what they call the agenda. He does not care about slogans, branding, or political spin. He looks at the conduct, he looks at who made the decision, who benefited, who covered up, and what the evidence proves. If Democrats win back real power, especially the House and the Senate, the Trump administration could face the level of investigation it has been desperate to avoid. Oversight committees could begin digging. Subpoenas could go out, witnesses could be called, documents could be demanded, and prosecutors would know exactly where to look. That is the nightmare scenario for Trump.
Grand juries in 2 separate districts reached this conclusion based on his actions, as alleged in the indictments they returned. Rather than accept his defeat in the 2020 election, President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results and prevent the lawful transfer of power. After leaving office in January of 21, President Trump illegally kept classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago social club and repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to conceal his continued retention of those documents. Highly sensitive national security information was held in a ballroom and a bathroom. As I testify before the committee today, I want to be clear. I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Democrat or a Republican. No one should be above the law in this country, and the law required that he be held to account, so that is what I did. To have done otherwise on the facts of these cases would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and as a public servant, of which I had no intention of doing. I remain grateful for the counsel, judgment, and advice of my team. President Trump has sought to seek revenge against career prosecutors, FBI agents, and support staff simply for having worked on these cases. To vilify and seek retribution against these people is wrong. Those dedicated public servants are the best of us, and it has been a privilege to serve with them.
Because Jack Smith does not need to scream. He does not need to perform. He can step back, gather information, study the record, and wait for the right legal and political moment. That is what makes him dangerous. He is patient, he's disciplined, and he understands the system. Trump knows it. That is why he keeps talking about investigations. That is why he keeps saying they want to impeach him. That is why he keeps warning his supporters that people are coming after him. But ask yourself this. Why would a man with nothing to hide be so obsessed with being investigated? He knows the weak spots. He knows the financial questions are not going away. He knows the Epstein questions are not going away. He knows the corruption questions are not going away. He knows the courts have not fully surrendered to him. And he knows Jack Smith is not the kind of person who simply forgets.
Special Counsel Jack Smith is telling Republicans, game on. In a letter just released from his attorneys to Congressman Jim Jordan and Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairs of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee, Jack Smith is offering to testify, but he wants to do so in a public hearing about the investigations he conducted. Jack Smith's attorneys writing this, quote, given the many mischaracterizations of Mr. Smith's investigation into President Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents and his role in attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election, Mr. Smith respectfully requests the opportunity to testify in open hearings before the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. Jack Smith's team added just one caveat, quote, he's prepared to answer questions about the special counsel's investigation and prosecution, but he requires assurance from the Department of Justice that he will not be punished for doing so. Jack Smith is making this offer to testify in full view publicly because and after Republicans have alleged for weeks now that Jack Smith's team unlawfully tapped the phone records of members of Congress who may have had a role in Trump's effort to overturn his 2020 election defeat. On that issue, Jack Smith defended his team and his investigation in a letter to Republicans on Tuesday. He writes this, quote, as described by various senators, the toll data collection was narrowly tailored and limited to the 4 days from January 4th, 2021 to January 7th, 2021, with a focus on telephonic activity during the period immediately surrounding the January 6 riots at the U.S. Capitol. The subpoena's limited temporal range is consistent with a focused effort to confirm or refute reports by multiple news outlets that during and after the January 6 riots at the Capitol, President Trump and his surrogates attempted to call senators to urge them to delay certification of the 2020 election results. In other words, Jack Smith, the investigator, was doing what investigators do. He was doing his job, investigating efforts by Donald Trump to get his allies to stop the election from being certified. The attacks from Republicans are part of a steady but increasingly loud drumbeat to target people on Donald Trump's enemies list.
Even the crypto issue could become a problem. Some people think crypto means secrecy, but blockchain does not mean invisible. Transactions can be traced. Records can be followed. If something suspicious happens, investigators do not have to guess forever. They can look. And then there is the intelligence community. Trump has attacked institutions, fired people, pushed loyalists, and treated federal service like a personal loyalty test. Do people really think there is no backlash from that? Do they think records vanish? Do they think career officials forget what they saw? Information survives. Documents survive. Witnesses survive. And when the time comes, that information can land in the hands of Congress, watchdogs, prosecutors, and investigators. That's what Trump cannot control.
Tonight, another round of demonstrations against the Trump administration's fast and forceful actions, as federal officials launched this weekend an investigation into Jack Smith, the former special counsel who brought 2 criminal indictments against then-candidate Trump. Smith, a frequent target of the president's anger.
He's a deranged prosecutor. He's sick. They suck him on me.
Republican Senator Tom Cotton initiating the independent agency's inquiry, alleging Smith violated the law by using his investigations to hurt Trump's 2024 campaign, though not publicly presenting any specific evidence of impropriety by Smith. The U.S. Office of Special Counsel can refer potential violations to the Department of Justice. This is the president in a new interview defended his decision to fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics just hours after Friday's jobs report was released.
We fired her because we didn't believe the numbers today.
The monthly jobs numbers for July showed a weaker than expected 73,000 jobs added. The fired Labor Statistics Commissioner posting late Friday night, measuring a vast and dynamic economy is vital and important work. In that same interview defending the firing, President Trump once again refusing to rule out the possibility that he would pardon convicted Jeffrey Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, after the Bureau of Prisons confirmed this week that it had moved her to a minimum security prison camp in Texas.
I have the right to give pardons. I've given pardons to people before, but nobody's even asked me to do it.
And when asked about a potential pardon for Sean Diddy Combs, the president said it was unlikely because Combs was, quote, very hostile toward him when he entered politics. Jose?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
He can control a rally crowd, he can control a social media post, he can control a news cycle for a few hours, but he cannot control every judge, every document, every state attorney general, every law firm, every nonprofit, every investigator, and every future congressional committee. That is why the pressure is building. You have courts pushing back, you have legal groups pushing back, you have civil rights organizations pushing back, you have Democratic governors and attorneys general pushing back. You have law firms that Trump tried to intimidate now standing their ground. And if Congress changed hands, the pressure could explode. Jack Smith is only one part of that picture, but he is one of the most dangerous parts for Trump because he knows the evidence, he knows the timeline, he knows what was built before, and he knows that Trump's legal exposure did not disappear just because Trump wanted it to. So yes, Trump is in trouble, and the worst part for him is that he knows it. He thought Jack Smith was gone, he thought the files were buried, he thought the country could move on, but Jack Smith's name is back. The questions are back, the pressures are back, and if voters shows up, the accountability Trump fears most may finally come back for him.